Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Welcome, everybody, to Freight Executive Insights. I am Michael Vincent. I am not the freight executive with the insights. Today, I bring you Jake McLeod. He is the guy that is going to just light the world on fire with the 411 today. Jake, welcome to the show, brother. I'm glad you made it on.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thank you for the invite.
Of course. I mean, you're from the great state of Michigan and everything, but you're still welcome. Still welcome. You're not technically inside the city limits of Ann Arbor, so it's cool.
I very much claim Michigan as my team, though, so go blue.
All right, that's okay. That's okay. We can deal with that. OH, brother. OH. All right, we got that out of the way. It says here on LinkedIn, as I was stalking you, that you're a strategic advisor for logistics companies and technologies startups, which is incredibly cool. But you also just recently started a position with SYCN Auto Logistics, right? SYCN. You don't pronounce SYCN; it's SYCN Auto Logistics, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm looking at that going, how would I pronounce it if I was going to pronounce it?
I think it's impronounceable. There's a reason behind that.
Is that right? Is it to confuse people like me, to confuse Buckeyes?
That's right. Yeah. No, I think there was a model of the company of Ship Your Car Now, which is like sort of this retail. If you were just a consumer looking to move your car somewhere in the country, hey, Ship Your Car Now is a great domain and a great company name.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I thought maybe InSync was taken, so you guys just used.
No, it is. Somebody took that already, but so as the business moves into more of the B2B world and more you're in the boardroom, Ship Your Car Now becomes a little less appealing than SYCN. So I think that's kind of that impetus of shrinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like DAT, most people don't know that is dial a truck.
Dial a truck, yeah, right. Yeah. It doesn't make much sense. People don't understand what a dial tone is anymore. So it's I think you got to modernize a little bit.
Yeah. My daughters don't understand hang up the phone.
Right.
What do you mean hang it up? I'm just going to set it right here. Is that cool? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Oh, you mean end the call? Yes, I mean end the call. Right.
That's exactly what I mean. They will never know the struggle of trying to get long phone cords so that you can have a private conversation,
or having to call someone's house and their parents might answer.
Exactly.
The anxiety-inducing moment in a young teenager's life, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, where you want to go, brother? I mean, you're involved with a lot of different things. You're talking to a lot of different people, but you got your new gig. So, why the auto industry? What brought you into there? I suppose you were kind of working with them a little bit, and then decided, hey, we need you on our team, and offered you went in. And how did that work? I mean, not all the specific, but why auto industry? Why does that particularly grab your interest right now?
Yeah, so auto's a weird, unique niche, right? And I've been into the niches for a while. Obviously, in previous roles, I played in the auto logistics world. Was out of it for a number of years. Started a company, EXO, which focused on the open deck niche, and it was very tech focused. Spent a little time after EXO doing consulting work, helping some other freight tech companies go to market, and really helping them kind of find a path in this environment right now. And auto logistics came available again, right? I was outside any covenants I had and was interested in dipping my toe back. It's a market that trails freight from a technology and expectation and process standpoint, probably like 5 years.
Oh, is that right?
Things that were like the normal, hey, this is, the expectation of a driver's X, or here's where the technology is at. It just lags a little bit behind, right? Just the size of the market's much smaller, and there's less focus, less people really investing in it. And so it's fun to come back to and be like, hey, guys, listen, we're going to do some really cool, fun, amazing things. The market's going to be jumping up and down, excited that we can bring this to market. And I just know that because I've seen it before, and my message and our message was resonating really well, and we had a great growth story. So I'm looking to do that again. And this was the perfect platform to do it. The size of the company, the people, the technology, the way they already think about the world was very much in alignment with my goals, and it's going to be good. It's going to be a fun next few years for sure.
So we talked about where SYCN came from, right? Ship Your Car Now, now it's SYCN because you broaden your markets, et cetera. right?
Exactly.
So you have these, like I see Wagoneer and stuff like that, and exotic car carrier and stuff like that. And I have shipped a car across the country because I moved and all that kind of stuff, right? Are you still playing that game, or is it more now B2B type of shipments? And is like manufacturer or port to dealership like the only lane? I
Nah,
mean,
I wish.
it's just opaque to most people. They see it and they go, okay, all they really witness is I got to move around this truck because it's dropping off a load of Nissans at the auto dealership.
Yeah.
That's not the full story, right?
No, that's one piece, right? And no, you don't abandon. We've not abandoned the consumer side of the business, right? But again, with technology and process improvement, I'd say that side now is really a flywheel of success, right? Like the inputs are very clear,
Yeah,
and really the outputs are just as clear, right? So with that side of the business, you're building a funnel, right? It's a lot of SEO marketing. How do you build the mousetrap? How do you get consumers to come to you?
right.
And then create a rating engine that scales, and then have an execution arm that moves the units through the system, right?
Gotcha.
Well, how do you take that rating engine, that execution arm, and apply that now to, hey, maybe it is port work, right? But think about just dealer trades or dealers purchasing inventory from auctions, or your fleet companies, right? So as you infleet or defleet cargo vans or work trucks, how do you move those things around? Rental agencies, how do you handle the imbalance of vehicles at a particular location to another location? Think about like the Super Bowl. While there's a massive influx of people that need rental cars, when they leave, those rental cars have to go back out into the normal network. So there's a lot of opportunities to move vehicles. What's interesting is in freight, you're probably only moving that pallet once. In the vehicle world, you can move a car 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, right? So it's a little bit different
Oh,
than thinking
the
about.
same product. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah.
exactly right. Yep, yep. So you get the chance to move the same thing multiple times. Sometimes by design, right? It's going to go in, something happens to it, maybe it's getting upfitted, and then you move it to another location. So you get multiple legs of the same move. And so it's a cool market to be in, right? Where you can focus on certain accounts that do that, versus freight, where I mean you're going to battle every day, especially in this environment.
You are. Is there a large cohort of competitors in this? I mean, it's pretty small space, but a pretty small space is still fairly large in the United
Right.
States, and especially in autos, because like most people have one.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, sure. You look at freight, and I think people throw around numbers. We'll use the generally accepted $800 billion market of
Yeah,
freight. Auto, again, same thing. It's a little murky, right? Some will say 10, some will say closer to 20. But as soon as somewhere in there, I mean, you're still talking a market where, a gain share of 1% of
yeah.
that market is still $100 million to $200 million account, right?
Yeah. Why is it so opaque in your opinion, getting data and understanding how big that market is? Because it's like Christmas tree season. The only reason people know there's Christmas tree season is because capacity dries up in certain places.
Exactly.
Because nobody's sending the EDI and API data on shipments of Christmas tree. It's a farm sending over a fax or a phone call, say, "Hey, I got loads moving," right? And so nobody knows that's happening until
Yeah,
like there's no capacity in North Carolina because they're all moving Christmas trees and
totally.
stuff, right? So is
Yeah.
is that the same thing there? I mean, even flatbed is kind of that way too. The data
Yeah,
is
I
very
was going to
opaque.
say, the hot shot market is really the closest thing to freight as I can, compare to vehicle, right? Where the capacity is just different, right? You
Yeah,
have the 9 car hauler, which is a CDL driver with really now the prices of equipment are so high, 350,000 to $500,000 piece of equipment, right? So you have
oh
sort of this
wow, that
massive
truck, that's what that
investment.
thing costs with all the
Exactly.
hydraulics and everything on it.
It's
Okay.
insanity, right? It's custom built, and it's just the barrier to entry on that side obviously quite high.
Yeah,
And now let's look at the other side of the industry with like a 3 car wedge, right? Which is really the equivalent of a hotshot carrier, right? And as long as you stay under, certain weight requirements, a non CDL driver can handle that.
yeah.
And so you can have a Ram 2500 and a Kaufman trailer and get trucking fairly
And you're
easily
good
with
to,
low
you're
barrier
good
to
to
entry.
go. Yeah,
So, you get lost. Like, how do you capture that capacity versus the large capacity? EDI is only really existed in OEM work. So, sure, we know the new cars that are moved via production. Sure, that's an easy reportable. But what about
yeah.
between people? online bid sites, eBay auctions, purchasing
Meacham.
from an auction, Mecum,
Do you haul from those places like Meacham? Do you
I have.
specialized? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly have, right? And I think with this current company, SYCN, right, there is this high line, as we call it in the industry, high touch, white glove service, right? So
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
exotics. What do you expect a home delivery, experience to be like when a $500,000 McLaren shows up? You
Yeah.
expect a little bit more out of a driver, right? A level of professionalism, a level of care and delivery, and how do you deliver that to a customer? And in the freight world, it's just a little different, right? Not that there aren't white glove shipments and expectations, but an individual receiving, a multi-100,000 or $1 million vehicle is just a very different mindset going into it.
Yeah, I would imagine when you get into the high tech equipment delivery and stuff like some very sensitive medical or engineering type of equipment, you would have similar type of dynamics to what you're talking about. But
Totally. And
that's
think about
really
how nichey that is, though, right? Like how many
oh yeah,
people, listening have ever moved a $1 million radiation machine or anything like that, right? It's very rare.
I've been inside one. It sucks.
I hope not to be inside one. But it's great business, right? And the people that do that high touch white glove, I mean, they probably would say, I would never go back to moving, consumer packaged goods and play the volume world, right? Because they understand the level of effort that goes in equates to tighter relationships, greater profit margin, obviously, and just like a level of quality that is just expectations from the driver, the market, the industry are just different than that of like the general freight world. So
right.
New headaches in the niches for sure, but you leave behind a lot of the other headaches.
Yeah.
Right.
So is it? I mean, with what you're saying, like the barrier to entry in the auto industry, there's not a lot of like owner operators out there, are there, or
There's a
independents?
lot of independence, but that's because it's easy to get in with on that hotshot equivalent, right? That Ram 2500.
Okay, the small ones, not the big
wedge.
9-car carriers.
Very difficult, right? So there are owner operators, right? You got to think about these lease to own programs and things like that do exist.
Okay, yeah.
There is a market where there are owner operators in the larger scale, but a much bigger pool of the small pieces of equipment.
Small hotshot guys.
Nature, yeah.
So, like a company like SYCN, do you offer the full gamut in-house as asset based, or do you specialize or asset in the more expensive and then like outsource or lease on, lease to own or contracted drivers outsourced on the smaller wedge stuff, or do you just compete asset wise all across the board?
Yeah, so we're not asset based, right? So
okay,
what we've built is more of how do you create that one to many relationship, right? How do we use really our skill set, our technology, our process to build out the network of these carriers that otherwise you'd have no idea existed, right? Again, these mom and pops or owner operators with this wedge type of equipment, and even up to the large equipment. How do I build that pool of capacity inside our four walls that when a unit needs to be moved, I know right where to go and right where to pull that capacity from to assign it the most effective, or create a multiple leg route, right? Again, we're trying to fill instead of one spot on a 3-car trailer. How do I fill all 3 spots with the units I have?
Yeah, you're trying to create milk runs or pool distribution type of stuff.
Because that's all these guys do all day, right? If you're a 9-car hauler, onesie twosies, I mean, you're trying to fill and unload your truck and create some sort of efficient route across the U.S. or across a region. And our sell really is how do we do that for them and create a more efficient route.
I got you.
Yeah, eliminate the deadhead mile, right? I think the auto hauling world's the most notorious. I think it was something like at one point 40% of all miles are empty in the auto hauling world.
Well, I would imagine because it's so niche, it's hard to find that next move, right? I mean, I guess your consistent lanes are really like manufacturer to port or manufacturer to dealership and right.
Yeah,
I mean, those are your regular lanes, right?
Yeah, fairly stable contract OEM lanes, but imagine that's limited, right? And even that can sort of be fleeting, right? I mean, a ship shows up every how often, right? So the ship shows up, you unload the ship, and then you wait another month or two until another ship arrives. So that even is a little bit not as reliable as you may think. And there's production woes and ups and downs and recalls and plan changes. I mean, we read it in the news. Today, it may EVs may be the hot topic, but I mean every vehicle has gone through a life cycle. In the previous gas crisis, there was all the SUVs stopped, and it was all small car, and so plants and tooling and production changes on a whim that affects those consistent lanes, so to speak. So there is a sense of how do we get more density? How do we get a unique set of customers in an area that maybe run similar enough lanes where we can build those sort of trade lanes or milk runs as you described?
Yeah, I mean, it is an ever evolving industry, and with the new administration and the tariff threats on EVs and all this kind of stuff out of China, et cetera, I imagine things are changing dramatically, right?
I mean, it's we don't know, right? I mean, I think
you don't know till it happens, right? I mean, all now it's just conjecture, but.
Exactly. So I think, anytime any election year comes in, right, there's a sense of, okay, well, we have a good sense of what the path will be. You can imagine the green mandates in this administration probably aren't going to be as, bullish as they were in the previous administration. So what does that mean for shipping? I don't know, right? Maybe production, as we've seen, naturally was going to go down and some of the investment levels are going down. On the flip side, though, we're seeing people double down. Chrysler has just launched the all-electric Challenger and Charger. So, who's to say?
And I don't know what your thoughts are, but the new Volkswagen bus, the electric bus, I think is freaking cool looking.
Bus is cool. I think the Scout that just launched is very cool.
Scout is very cool as well. Yeah, I agree.
I'm not a detractor of the EV world at all. I think, it just, give people a choice what they want to do and make it,
sure.
Where do we want our our tax dollars to go and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the EVs are cool, and I'm excited for new ideas and new things to come full circle. We had some boring vehicles for part of the 2000s. So it's nice
my gosh! You remember what Ford did to the Mustang in the 80s? Holy crap!
Yeah, the Mustang 2, the Ford Taurus. We had a lot of cars we could beat up on, but GM they all had the same problems. But the muscle car wars were exciting. All the same, though, right? I think I think a lot of people would like to see that continue just because of the innovation and how much horsepower can you get. And the EV wars have sort of started in that point too, right? Like how do we get better range? How do we get cars people are excited about? So, it's good. It's good competition, and I like to see people drive innovation.
Yeah, I mean, are there kids sitting in their garage right now trying to figure out how to get one more kilowatt out of that battery?
I don't know.
We spent months trying to get 10 more horsepower out of something. Oh, we put a cooling pack on the air intake and we get 5 more horsepower out of this. So,
that K&N air filter from AutoZone, right?
Yeah.
But you nailed it, though. I mean, not to put anybody in a box, right? But the Gen Zers are much more excited about EVs than say like the millennials or the Gen Xers, right? I think there's an aspirational vehicle for a young 20-something, late teens, or even a 16-year-old Tesla, or something cool in that in that EV world, right? Oh, a Model X would be my dream car at 16.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was maybe the Lamborghini or the Hummer or whatever, right? That was
anything that's going to growl is cool, right? I mean, that's if it doesn't growl, it can't be fast.
Right. Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly, right? It's like it's all soulless for us, but for kids who are just the technology is their life, right? We just talked about that before. Like kids don't know what a dial tone is, but kids today just don't understand a world without like instant access to data, information, the answer to any question. Their world is tech. I get a new phone and I'm just irritated with the level of technology. I'm like, I just want to just make a phone call sometimes, and I've got Gemini telling me it knows a better way to make a phone call. I'm like, no,
exactly.
I just want to dial somebody. That's all.
Did you want to talk to Bixby? No, I just want to call somebody.
2/3 of the features in my car I never use. But the younger folks are like, listen, you got to embrace all this. Like you build accounts now, right? When you get into a new vehicle, it's like set up your account. You got to set your car up now. You log into your car. I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild. It's cool. It's convenient, but it's just a different world than I
Nah,
think
the last
we are.
I bought a Tacoma. My last truck I bought was a Tacoma, and it's just truck. I mean, I call it. It's just truck. There's nothing in it. I mean,
That's
it's just
right.
that's it. It's got good enough stereo system. I can rock some Ramones and stuff like that, and that's it. It's just truck.
That's
I don't
right.
need navigation. Live my whole life without navigation.
I
I
love it,
don't.
and those vehicles are cool, right?
Yeah,
But kind of bring full circle though. That does bring challenges to when moving these vehicles, right?
it does, and that's what I want to get into. This tech
Yeah,
is interesting because that's where I want to go next. Is tech in your your strategic advisor? You're talking about technology startups, et cetera, that type of thing. And we can keep it in the vein with SYCN and the auto industry. You said it's about 5 years behind, right?
sure.
What is that trend, and what translates as far as that new technology that you're seeing in and let's pick one, right? Let's pick like highway, like Jordan Graff and those guys.
Yeah, highway's great. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fraud prevention, that type of stuff like that. Is that a big thing in the auto industry? I mean, how many people are stealing Lamborghinis off the back of a
Too many.
Wagoneer or something?
Yeah, too many. They're not stealing them off the back. People gladly load it onto a thief, right? So think about that level.
Oh, so that's a shipper consignee theft more than it is an in transit.
Well, it's a fake carrier, right? So think
Yeah.
about someone representing
Okay. Yeah. So
themselves as a legitimate
fraudulent
carrier.
carriers. Yeah.
And it's just as bad as think about moving high value shipments in freight, right? A load of copper, where maybe the carrier was complicit, maybe they weren't, maybe it was identity theft, who knows? But you have all the same risk in auto to a commodity that's much easier to sell or ship overseas, and the dollar signs are much more visible in that world. But double
Yeah, the margins are bigger in that theft ring, right?
Oh, totally, right? I mean, it's easier to fence a Lamborghini and McLeod, or just like a high-end SUV, a G-Wagon, whatever, than it is a load of widgets, right, or TVs or something, right? So a lot of
there was a dude stealing loads of pecans and selling them like a mile down the road out in California a few years back. It's like, what?
Nuts
the
are
heck?
high value. Yeah, I used to ship almonds, and it was all high value. It was like $300,000 for a truckload of almonds. And,
Yeah.
big money. How someone sells that on the black market, I don't know, but they clearly do. Highway. I'm glad you brought it up. So we're actually, one of my initiatives that came on board was to really button up fraud. Highways, where the direction we're going. Right, we can give a tip of the cap to Highway, but they've really done a great job tackling fraud in ways that people just neglected. Right, so tech wise, even in freight, nobody was really going about this the smart way. They had their own internal processes. There's a few individuals that were making a lot of noise on LinkedIn and some of the other socials, and nobody really was like, well, how do we have a silver bullet, so to speak? Not that there is a catch-all, but a company that's now screening phone calls, right? Like, so if it calls in from a known double broker number, it's screened out. We did that internally. We blocked, numbers that called in that we identified later, but to screen them out completely from the get-go, incredible. Emails, same thing. Being able to track the IP from from anywhere in the world where individuals maybe in Moldova is the only time this one owner operator's ever interacted with us. Really, is that likely to be a legitimate carrier? And that happens.
He's on vacation, dude. He's on vacation.
Yeah, he's been on vacation, but he's going to pick this up tomorrow, I promise. The over promising of loads is so common in the auto world. So think about if I have 30 units that need to move from Miami, Florida to Detroit, and a single carrier is like, oh, I can take them all. I've got 4 trucks. I'll take all these, no problem, right? Well, lo and behold, they have 1 3-car wedge, and they promise to take all of them from you. But they're really, in their world, we're co-brokering, right? But they're double brokering the rest of the units out to their friends. Highway catches that, right? They know that you've overloaded this carrier because they're receiving tenders from multiple people, or they see they only have 1 truck registered, and it gives you an alert. So, good use of technology to prevent fraud, but really solid processes in your 4 walls are key. And discipline, separation of duties a little bit, right? The carrier sales individual on the floor, they can't be the ones necessarily responsible for determining if a carrier's good or not, right? Because they may err in the side of I need this load covered versus err in the side of is this person really who they say they are. So build strong processes, build good rules, and have a really strong technology partner. And that's what I recommend for combating fraud. We've gone so far as even customers or non-customers that choose to do their own freight, because in auto hauling, it's somewhat common to use the load boards on your own, right? They're, one of the popular load board services advertises to anybody. You don't need to be a broker; anyone can use it. And so we give those individuals like, we don't want to use you. We'll do it ourselves. We start giving them like the tips and tricks. Like, okay, cool. If you're going to do this, you're going to help combat fraud because now you're in the industry. Here's at least 5 things you better be doing on every load to make sure you're not letting the bad guys in. And we've got a positive response from that. They're like, we can't believe you're trying to help us. We don't want to use you. It's like, well, you've sort of joined the show if you're going to go tendering things out on your own. So let's not feed the trolls, so to speak, and let's make sure we're keeping this tight. Because if you stop the flow of money and it's just not a profitable venture, you're going to see these folks and scammers disappear over time.
Gotcha.
And they'll pick on the less sophisticated folks,
Yeah. What about the other technologies, that are out there that are coming on board, like scheduling appointments and this type of stuff? You said it's like 5 to 10 years behind in technology in there. What's the visibility like in the shipments that are moving on there between, shipper, consignee, and in transit?
Yeah, visibility's gotten way better, right? But think, freight's now probably nearly 100% compliance, right? Between ELD or apps or anything like that, it's pretty common. The vehicle world was just lagging behind, where, it was maybe 5 years ago at 3%. And now it's gotten up to more, standard is 50%. We require it, and we still get pushback from carriers, right? I don't think anybody who's in the freight world gets pushback from any carrier anymore when it comes to asking for tracking. In the freight world, hey, this requires macro point. This requires you to have, whatever it is. Okay, done, no problem. In our space, it's still very much like, well, I don't want you to track me. Well, what do you need to follow me for, right? And so
because you're carrying a load of Lamborghinis, bro.
Exactly. So we still have to sell it, and we require it, and we incent drivers and things. So we get very good compliance for that. But it's an example of, what's now table stakes in freight is still sort of, a thing that we have to push along. We're ahead in auto hauling is electronic bill of ladings. That's very
really?
Everything's gone towards electric. EPOD is what we like to call it, electronic bill of lading. So there's sort of a standard BOL, a standardized condition report, right? Kind of what damages there were on a vehicle when you picked up versus when you delivered, and that's all been pushed electronic. So there are ways that the car hauling world has sort of progressed, but that was very much out of a need, right? Think about how much paperwork is on a 9-car load. So I have 9 BOLs, 9 rate cons, potentially. It was a lot of paperwork that's really gone.
Yeah, that's very true. So the industry and the niche, the smaller community of it makes it better easier, I would suppose, to have that new or homogenous adoption of that type of stuff.
Exactly. Where the shippers all got together and said, hey, we're willing to do this together. You're not getting a consortium of of all the shippers in freight, flatbed, et cetera, to all meet and agree on what they think a BOL should look like. That's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, exactly. That's very cool stuff, dude. Our time flew by, but I love the insights. It's very cool. Taking the deep dive, we didn't even get really that deep, but even a little bit of a opening up of the world of auto transit for me, auto hand is very cool. I'm sure people enjoy this episode quite a bit. I appreciate it very much, Jake.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to come back, and we can deep dive on any particular subject you like next time.
Yeah, no, I think so. As different topics come up, we can dive into those and talk to them, because it's. Who are you still doing? Kind of this freelance, advising on different technologies, et cetera?
I do. Yeah, there's a number of folks on my LinkedIn. You see like Vendor Flow, and I do a lot with them in the communication space. I think they're doing great things, especially there's a lot of translation to auto world too, a lot of drayage with the way they're communicating and sort of centralizing communication via Telegram, WhatsApp, text, Navix, which is doing great things on the ARAP side. Guide.cap. There's a few that I do some work with, and they're doing great things, and I continue to help them grow. They're great people, so I'm happy to always talk any of them as well. I'm their biggest fans.
Yeah, excellent, great stuff. Follow him on LinkedIn, man. Jake McLeod. You check him out. He's got some great stuff, and reach out to him. got quite a bit of an extensive background here as well, which is pretty cool. I love it, brother.
A lot of time and freight.
Yeah, baby. I love it, man. I appreciate you coming on, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much, man. You too.
Right on. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in and watching FEI Freight Executive Insights. I'm Mike Vincent. Peace and love.